Welcome to Assembly News Now. This is multimedia editor Jennifer Pierce, and here's what's happening with product assembly on March 5th. GlobalFoundries gets a $1.5 billion federal grant to boost domestic production of semiconductors. Also, Toyota starts production on a new $220 million engine assembly line in Alabama. How one company is turning carbon fiber scraps from Boeing into laptops. And our top story: Mexico has become the leading source of goods imported to the U.S. And last but not least, Tata Motors' assembly plant in Pune, India, is staffed entirely by women. All these Assembly News Now stories right after a quick message from our sponsor, Promes, an industry leader for complete turnkey monitoring and motion systems. The Biden administration has announced a $1.5 billion award to chipmaker GlobalFoundries, one of the first sizable grants from a government program aimed at revitalizing semiconductor manufacturing in the U.S. The administration will also make available another $1.6 billion in federal loans. The funding is expected to triple the company's production capacity in New York State over 10 years. The funding represents a bipartisan effort to revitalize American semiconductor manufacturing. Currently, just 12% of chips are made in the U.S. America's reliance on foreign sources of microchips became an issue during the pandemic, when automakers and other manufacturers had to delay or shutter production amid a chip shortage. Toyota has started production on a new assembly line at its engine factory in Huntsville, Alabama. Begun 2 years ago, the new line cost $222 million and adds 114,000 square feet to the factory. It's the sixth expansion there since 2003. The line is making a new turbocharged four-cylinder engine for the Tacoma pickup. Last year, the factory built more than 777,000 engines. Japanese chemical company Toray Industries has developed a way to recycle carbon fiber left over from production of the Boeing 787. The 787 is the first commercial jetliner with an airframe made mostly of carbon fiber reinforced polymer. Previously, Boeing had been sending carbon fiber scraps from the manufacturing process to a landfill. Now, Toray's pyrolysis recycling process enables the material to be reused. The first company to take advantage of the new material is Lenovo. The consumer electronics company is mixing the recycled fiber with plastic to make the cases for its laptop computers lighter and stronger. And now for today's top story. Since the pandemic, nearshoring has become as big a trend as reshoring as a way to increase resiliency and shorten supply chains. Nearshoring is the practice of transferring an operation to a nearby country such as Mexico in preference to a more distant one such as China. Now we have dramatic evidence of that trend. Here to tell us more is Chief Editor John Sprovieri.
Thanks, Jennifer. New data from the Commerce Department shows that in 2023, Mexico was the leading source of goods imported to the U.S., ahead of China for the first time in over 20 years. Mexico surpassing China as America's top trade partner signals a significant shift in global trade. As tensions between the U.S. and China persist, this transition to Mexico promises to reduce costs and speed up the supply chain. During the past year, the value of goods imported to the U.S. from Mexico increased by almost 5% to over $475 billion. At the same time, Chinese imports fell by 20% to $427 billion, just slightly above imports from Canada. The U.S. trade deficit contracted by 19% last year. U.S. businesses and consumers have been buying more from European countries, South Korea, India, and Vietnam, particularly clothing and auto parts. Some of the decline in Chinese imports could be due to the tariffs implemented by the Trump administration in 2018. In addition, the Biden administration has been pushing companies to reshore manufacturing or friendshore production to countries that are politically closer to the US. To be fair, the drop in Chinese imports may not be as severe as it seems. To get around tariffs, companies may be importing goods originally made in China through other countries. Back to you, Jennifer.
Thanks, John. And finally, the assembly line at the Tata Motors factory in Pune, India is unique. Its 1,700 employees are all women. This did not happen by accident. Management proposed the idea in 2021 as a way to empower women in the country. Since then, the company has spent the past 3 years recruiting and training female high school graduates from across the country. In many cases, Tata redesigned the assembly line to suit the needs of female employees. For example, the company added lift assist equipment, raised work platforms, and new fastening tools. The factory is every bit as productive as those with male-dominated workforces. It produces 120 cars every shift and operates 24/7. That's all for this edition of Assembly News Now. For all the latest news on assembly technology, visit assemblymag.com and follow us on social media. Thanks for watching, and tune in next month for another installment of Assembly News Now.